Good morning, everybody. I hope you can hear me just fine. It's a pleasure to be with you all today. I wish I could be there in person, but it's fun being at least able to interact with you all in a virtual format as well. So I'm really glad to sort of be part of the session today. I want to give a special thank you to Cecilia Macias and Michelle Rodriguez-Taylor for all the great work you've done organizing the class, and Laura Roman as well as part of this. I think that I've been hearing rave reviews all semester about this, so huge kudos to you all. I'm also really excited today to open up today's workshop and introduce to you our guest speaker, Jessica Lederhausen. I'll talk a little bit about Jessica. She is a transformational coach, public health advocate, and entrepreneur. And most importantly, she's a great expert communicator. In 2020, Jessica invited me to record a TEDx talk, and you're going to hear during the presentation today about TEDx talks and that style of presentation. My talk was on disease prevention and health promotion, which many of you know is something that I've dedicated my career to. Jessica and I met to discuss my presentation, and she actually coached me through that process. And I found her to be incredibly helpful and in understanding the best ways to communicate my research, especially to an audience without a public health background. And that is why I did ask Jessica to be with you all today. At the end of this conversation, I hope that you will feel much more confident in talking about yourself, your passions, your research, and why public health is so very important. I also think a major takeaway from today will be that as public health leaders, we need to continuously work on and improve how we are sharing important messages with the public. I want to talk a little bit about Jessica and her career. She graduated from the School of Public Health with a master's in public health degree in 2003, but she's always been a true entrepreneur. At a young age, she launched herself as a professional golfer and continued that metamorphosis into a number of different ventures. She's a dentist by training and has challenged herself to reach patients where there are, and did a research project on mobile dental care. After moving to Chicago from Stockholm, she spent 10 years in the lifestyle business, sharing her passion for healthy habits. And in 2016, she committed herself to ideas worth spreading and sharing, and produced TEDxChicago, which she led until 2021. She then left to pursue her consulting business that was inspired by daily habits and routines and the balanced living that she grew up with in Sweden. She's also in the process of writing a book about the connectiveness between oral health and overall health, and I hope Jessica will talk a little bit about her book as well. She prioritizes family and enjoys watching her grandchildren flourish while always multitasking with hobbies like playing golf, reading, baking, and knitting. And with that, Jessica, I'll turn things over to you, and I'm looking forward to participating in today's session.
Coachable, and it was a fantastic meeting we had together. So today I will give you my version of what I've learned since 2016 and how to create or craft, I want to see you guys, a TED-like talk. So yeah, TED style, I call TED-like talk. Oh no, not too fast.
I'm sorry.
So what I say is what I've learned, and there's a million ways, of course, of making a TED-like talk, but there are certain things that should be in there. So what we do, I'll do this, please. Thank you.
Yes.
So how do you get here to this stage, if that's what you want? So what if I told you there's a proven way of being more effective in communicating your idea? It's called a TED Talk. And here I use, like I said, TED-like talk, because it's not an official TED, even if I have my old cards with me. TED situation. But first, let me tell you a little bit about TED, so you have a background if you don't know how it all became what it is today. It started with one fairly small conference in 1984, which sounds like it's a while back. And since then, TED produces 1 or 2 conferences per year, but they grew and become so big through YouTube. And we're going to soon hear the first talk that was put up on YouTube. And then the TEDx's around the world. And before COVID, there were 4,000 TEDx's per year. And TEDxChicago was one of them since 2016 when I founded it. So that idea, which I appreciate, and I'm very, I love TED, but partly why I love it is that they took their fantastic conference. I mean, you can't have 2 million people in a conference, even if you wanted to. So they made it available for anywhere. I met people who organized TEDx in a prison, refugee camps, under a bridge in Italy, of course, and universities, you name it. You can do a TED Talk. There's no charge to become a TEDx licensee. So you can do a conference anywhere, any size, just saying, so you know. And yeah, by the way, I really want to say that TED is not a name. It's a technology, entertainment, not education, which a lot of people think it is, and design, which is those 3 together can basically do anything. So if you think of a conference and you have 3, 5, 10, 12 talks, it's really mixed fields they come from. And it stems from the idea that it should be for your brain to spark new ideas. That's the whole idea. So, okay, so we can listen, hopefully, to the first talk that was put up on YouTube, just a snippet, like 1.5 minutes or something. And he does it very well. And the quality is poor because it's from way back.
It's been great, hasn't it? I've been blown away by the whole thing. In fact, I'm leaving. There have been 3 themes, haven't there, running through the conference, which are relevant to what I want to talk about. One is the extraordinary evidence of human creativity in all of the presentations that we've had and in all the people here. Just the variety of it and the range of it. The second is that it's put us in a place where we have no idea what's going to happen in terms of the future. No idea how this may play out. I have an interest in education. Actually, what I find is everybody has an interest in education, don't you? I find this very interesting. If you're at a dinner party and you say you work in education, actually, you're not often at dinner parties, frankly. If you work in education, you're not asked, you know, and and you're never asked back, curiously. That's strikes me. But if you are, and you say to somebody, they say, "What do you do?" and you say you work in education, you can see the blood run from their face. They're like, "Oh my God, you know, why me?" It's my one night out all week.
Thank you. So I think he's fantastic, and he's done multiple TED Talks. But why I think that is that he chooses not to jump in, but he starts a little funny, and he sets us up for wanting to hear more about education. And now he brought us in because he's saying that nobody really likes educators. It's not interesting enough, and you know, and it's sort of, yes, it is. And you start thinking, and then he's going to go into his "Do Schools Kill Creativity?" his talk. But watch it later. I think he's fantastic. I think he actually died last year, unfortunately. Okay, so what is a TED Talk? That's why you're here. You want to know.
Sorry.
I keep going. You can go forward.
There we go.
So whatever the talk is about or by whom, it has to have one idea worth spreading. The idea must be yours, and it has to be by experience, or the few talks are personal experience, like I climbed a mountain or something that happens. But still, you have to be you, or it could be research. You were part of a research group. You can't really talk about others' work or summarize others' work. Formally, there is a talk with a single well-formed idea told within 18 minutes. It has been a time now where talks are getting shorter and shorter and shorter, but I think good and bad. We'll see how that's going to play out, if it's going to get longer again. So next slide, please. So here is a list. It's not a long list, but it's what TED Talk is not. So this is to think about. It's not a lecture. So today I'm not giving you a TED Talk about TED Talks, which could have been funny, but it's not. This is more of a presentation, I would say. I'm not preaching, and I have information for you, and we're not discussing because I'm telling you. But TED Talks, a lot of times people use the word that TED Talk discuss. No, it doesn't discuss. The person is actually telling you, bringing you in, and I'm going to get to how to get there. So the next slide. In my view, there is an opening, the idea, and everything in the middle, and then you have a closing. And I'm going to go through the flow of how to create this. So let's focus on the process for a bit. You're starting with a blank sheet of paper, preferably. A lot of times when I've been coaching speakers, they come with a whole essay done and say, this is what I have, and I think the process could be different to be more effective. So if you would come to me and say you want to talk about whatever, I would start by saying, put down your essay you wrote and let's talk. A lot of times that's very uncomfortable, except Dr. Dean Giles. Dean Giles, he was in it. So I started asking questions. So who are you, and where are you from, and how come, what happened? Is there anything that made you come up with this idea, or did somebody spark something in you when you were younger, older? There must be something. You just don't wake up a day and you come up with an idea to print medication at home in a machine, like we had a speaker last year at Northwestern. That comes from something else. What happened? I'm so curious. I want to know. And then people start talking. And that's when we can start crafting the actual talk. Now we're talking, I think, in my mind. So what ingredients, though, do we need to focus in on? So that would be the next. Yes, this is it. So I look at it at these 5 buckets, I call it. And I'm going to go through them. And then we get back to the slide with the flow. And that's about it. So my one friend who was mentoring me to be TED speaker coach, she told me, don't think of it as bring your masterpiece, don't bring your whole gallery. So that's the way of thinking. You don't have to tell everything this time. Focus. So I think that was very good of her. And it takes more work to hone in and really go deeper. What is the idea? So that takes a little time. But after that, we can start focusing on, that big idea. Sorry, that's my pick. And the next slide, the audience. Not only the physical, maybe if you're in a conference, this is going to go on YouTube, or everybody nowadays will be up somewhere. So you have to think about thinking broader beyond you and me, or you and me. There's a world out there. So this is where you have to ask yourself questions again. Who are they? And so how are you going to tell them the idea? So I have to read what I say, because I'm bringing the audience on a journey of discovering the idea with you. Focus on with the speaker. You're not telling them, you want them to be in it and come along. So think of it, I keep saying to my speakers, it's a gift. That gives a little more, okay, I'm giving it to you. So out there, you're not talking and then I'm out of here. I'm giving this to you as a gift. So then you can ask, of course, who is the audience? We always think about that, I assume. We all say that, who is the audience? But you don't know because you're going to be in a setting here and then the next day or whatever, it's on YouTube and the whole world is watching it. And how can they feel it's relevant for them? They can be anywhere. So what do they know or what do they need to know to jump on your boat and go with it on the journey? That's the thing, I think. And so then, I love this slide. So you build trust. I mean, number one. So now you trust me, I assume, because it's been told that I've been doing this for the 6 last years, and I've had 80 speakers, performers that I've been working with. And what else? I'm in public health, and you sort of built up, but you don't throw it in their face like an old-fashioned CV. So here's a chance to add something that makes sense. It could be a story telling about something that makes sense to build trust, to move us forward together. It could be the part where you tell why this all started. So I wish I could give you examples leading to, I didn't want to talk about my book and all that, but so I can say an example here then. So I'm writing a book about oral health and overall health, which sounds clinical, but the idea is to, okay, so the idea of that is that I want to share with people in general population how they can take charge of their health by thinking about what they put in their mouth, like food, how they breathe, mouth area, sleep, again, mouth area, and even moving your body, like physical and also your mind. So that's my book. So then I can say to get authority to tell that to you is to say, well, I started out as a dentist. Or you can tell then in a story, while it could be, while in dental school, I met this friend who inspired me to, that's kind of lame, but it's a way of telling something without just saying all your CV, whatever. So if you incorporate that, it becomes easier to listen to you as well, even if it's a complicated thing you're talking about. But yes, so, and of course you have to have proof and support and showing your research or your time climbing the mountain, what happened. That's an obvious one, I think. Okay, and the next would be, okay, connecting the idea to the audience. So here we have on the slide showing one of my speaker entertainers. He's a juggler and he juggled between 2 speakers, and then we thought we should interview him, which was planned. I mean, we planned to interview him. And then he tells us how when he tries something really, really hard and he fails, he uses something that is hard and he knows there's a chance to fail, and he's fine with that because he makes it sort of part of the show, which means in my mind, he showed how hard it is and that he's bold to try something really hard for us, the audience. And he shows vulnerability. You can fail. That happens. And then it just keeps going. So I thought that was a good learning for me personally. So, so that's something to bring in your style and way when you speak to people. So it could be examples, it could be metaphors and stories. So here now I'm thinking, I'm actually a little dry in my mouth. I didn't drink the water you asked me to drink. And so back to my book, I'm going to speak about how when you're stressed, your saliva is less of saliva in your mouth. We all know that, in the whole world would know that. So in my TED talk, that would be a good thing to remind people of. So that means now me should take a few breaths with my stomach and relax. Even though you guys seem super nice, it's a little stressful. So we'll see how that works. I'll let you know in soon. And then another example I wanted to give in regards of connecting to the audience that I think is important was that one of the speakers this year spoke about life expectancy and compared two parts of Chicago. And I suggested that we add another data point, which would be America compared to the world. And if you looked on the life expectancy list lately, well, I took the EPI part of the public health. So that's what I nerd on. So we are now number 4772. I don't remember today what it is, but it's not looking good. So then I said to her, that should be in too, because now the whole world will react to what she was talking about, which was getting the gap less, of course, in between the cities she compared. So that I felt now it gets interesting with a smaller example and then a bigger world example. So now anybody can listen to this and make it interesting to them. That was just one idea. I mean, one way of making it relevant to anybody who listens. That's key, I think, so you don't miss a lot of people. Okay. Oh, you're moving on. That's good. So this is one of my favorite speakers for TEDx. So this is the visuals. And usually speakers wanted to come in the beginning, and that's the last thing we do. And the visuals should, by any TEDx or TED organizer, be enhancing the experience, not take away from it with a chart that people stare at for like minutes without listening, because we all need to read and be smart about the charts. So forget about those things. That could be sent out later to people, or be, if it's on YouTube, you can add something, I'm sure, a link to the whole speak or to something else. Forget it. It's so distracting. Okay, back to the next slide, please. Oh, wow. That's fine. So let's start with the opening. So the opening and the end are the bookends of the talk, and both are the most, I think, important part of it, because we can all go back and listen again to a talk. So the opening should be strong and catching attention, and there are many ways of doing that. So you can state a problem or tell a story or somehow connect. Today, I could have told a story that two different stories. I could have told when I was here as a student, which is a blur because I have so many kids and they were little, I don't remember, but I was here, something to reconnect to this room, this beautiful room. This was not beautiful 2003. Something that you would think, oh my God, yeah, she's one of us, and we connect. Or it could be, I could do a statement like, did you know that the nose-mouth area is your first defense against diseases? During COVID, we realized, or research from COVID, patients realized that that's blah, 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 blah. There's so much about that now, actually. So that would be boom. But then I better have something good to say after that, because that could be a big statement. And I wrote some other suggestions here. And the closing, next slide. Close in, yeah, but no, not him. Back to the closing. I was dividing it up. Whoa. This is huge, I think. So I'm getting closer to the closing, so that makes me nervous, maybe. But here's your chance to end on a high note. And please never, never, ever summarize what you've said before. That's a no-no. So the ending should be obvious. So let's see if you can catch me when I'm getting to my end. But if the worst that happens is when you think the person is done and you're starting clapping and, oh, okay, no, she's not done. And that's when I'm backstage watching my speakers in my head still when I talk about this. So that makes me very nervous, because I knew they were supposed to stop here, which means you leave with a message that people can remember. And it could be a classic call to action. I would say today, which I won't, but I would say, try nose breathing, because that's what the nose is for, or something. And you could tell a story that ties back to the beginning. if I had had the story in the beginning. And you can do a what if. No, I don't know what it would be. That's a typical good. Then if you come up with something better, please email me what you have, which will be awesome to my list of to-dos. And then we have the yes. So delivering the talk. I'm using, this is not a TED Talk, so I'm using my notes, but rehearse. Just practice in front of the mirror, practice in front of your dog, practice in front of your neighbor. I mean, find someone to just give the talk to, and you're going to realize what needs to be tweaked. And this could actually tie to the beginning. Never write the talk on a whole essay again. So make sure if you do notes, I should have even fewer words. It's a written language. No, I mean spoken language. Spoken language you use when you talk to people. In my mind, at least a TED-like talk. So, and you can use, there are tools now that I used for my research for my book and try to come up with what I wanted to do. You can, so many tools on your phone, apps you can use or whatever to talk it into a machine and hear yourself. So that's all good, which was not available before. And by that, I'm going to say, I'm not going to linger. So I'm going to say, I hope you learned something and I hope you have questions. And thank you for having me. Thank you.
Awesome.
Okay,
Well, thank you, Jessica. Do we have any questions for her?
that would be fun.
Oh,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
During the intro, hopefully, you're trying to engage with the audience. Can you use emotion to try to attach with them, or in a say a dramatic action, dramatic reading, or would you just use words to connect with them?
Okay. So if for YouTube world, it might not work so well. But if you have the show that we produced, well, let's say today, I said to you to get up a little bit. Let's say we've had 3 speakers, half an hour before we met, and everybody's looking, you didn't look tired or anything, but everybody might look tired. Like, okay, you know, I would spontaneously say, okay, it's time for something, which could just get everybody more in tune with you and whatever, focus. If that's a bad answer, but anything else? Ask me anything. Yes, please. Well, a riff, okay, a riff is something you come up with in the moment, isn't it? So that's a no-no. So that would not come up on my stage, at least. So for a TED conference, which is different too, I know. So my speakers are coach more or less. Some say I have a coach, some say I don't need a coach. Yes, you do. So some we coach. So then we know exactly how many minutes each speaker is going to be. So it's very scripted, which might sound boring, but it's not. When you're, if you've ever done the conference, you want to know this person, and still some people go over. So that's why it's not a riff. The presentation, per definition, is more like today. It's not so precise. I'm babbling a little bit, but it's not a riff. I have something I want to say to you. And what else do we have? What was a lecture? That's a good, so that lecture is to you. I said, I want you to come on my wagon here and do the journey with me. So if I would tell you how, okay, again, my book is created, I would bring you on. Remember when you wrote your first essay in school? That's how I felt. And I get you in and feel it with me. Okay, now you got it. And then we're moving on and I'll tell the whatever I need to tell to make it, I mean, hardcore. That's the difference. So it's very hard to, when I met and seen and heard interesting scientists, that's hard to work with as a speaker coach. But when you get it right, it's fantastic. But they are, oh yeah, I can come and talk. I speak for 2 hours, keynote. So, oh gosh, no, we have 10 minutes. So then they get it, they feel almost offended, I think, that we don't want them for an hour. But it's like asking someone to come to a show and they assume you mean a Broadway show, but you meant an opera show, if that's. So this is something different than it's not better or worse. It's just it's a very specific thing, I would say. Yep.
Two parts. I felt that it's like almost hitting like the emotional core rather than like teaching something new. It's kind of like informing through motion. It's almost what I'm getting at. I mean, I've watched like TED radio hours, but that's kind of what when I listen to it, that's what I feel.
That's clever put, yeah. But you usually learn something new.
Yeah.
So the first time at TED, the first time I heard about crypto was at the TED conference years back. Oh, my head was spinning. I was emotional. I think this sounds interesting and cool, but I don't really understand. And I want to understand. I was like, boom, my head was, that's a great TED talk, I think. And they sort of explained and I sort of understood it. So it triggers emotions, feelings. Your brain is on fire. I wish you could measure that. That's the whole idea. So when we do the conference, I love to mix. So you have a super science with lighter and you mix it so the head is bursting. That's the idea. So, yeah, first of all, you have to, good question. I should have said that maybe. If you have an idea, you should think about it hard and put it in 2 sentences or something and send it to TEDx organizations and say, but they have typically application online, but make sure it sounds like a solid idea. Otherwise you're out. So usually we got 400 applications for 10, 12 spots. And then we also chase people we really think are interesting. There's something up there?
Oh, they're just asking to repeat the questions.
Oh.
I'll just type them in.
Thanks. Anything else? Otherwise, are we moving on?
I have a question.
You have a question.
I
Okay.
do.
Nice.
So what kind of qualifications or accolades does one need to be a TED speaker?
Okay, so the only qualification truly is that you have a good idea, like one idea. Don't come and say, I have 2 things here I'm thinking about. That's like, okay, come back when you have one idea. I mean, you can have 2, but bring one. And it is, like I said, it's the foundation of it is from experience, which is harder to be picked because it has to be something really different and special and interesting. Or it is your research or work that you've done for the last 50 years or whatever it is. But something you really are credible authority on, but it's not always academia or so. Yes.
And it's based on their and make sure that their process is equitable to like the voices of folks who are typically marginalized and underserved and don't have like PhD.
No, this is not a PhD thing. So TED, no, yeah. So it's we all. I mean, I can only talk for myself, but the whole idea is to have. It has to have a variety of topics, diversity of topics, diversity of audience, diversity of the speakers in all dimensions. So that answers your question. And that's what TED does fantastically in general. So which makes it, why it's interesting. Okay. Oh, sorry.
They have like any resources to guide someone after you're chosen if they feel like it's a good idea. They have like resources to help guide.
So yes, so each TEDx is run independently. So let's say if I know TEDxChicago, so we have a website and then it says you can apply now and people go on and apply. And then we choose with the whole procedure with people from whatever, the whole city helps us. And then we started coaching. So if I would talk to you about your idea and you're pretty clear, I mean, it might be a very easy, short coaching, but it's still, we want to know that you can show for what you're saying, it's yours and all that. And then when we're done, we put it on YouTube after the event, and then TED, the only thing they do, which is the main thing, they listen to every talk and check the backup, the criteria and the information. So if you said you research ABC and you didn't, your talk will not be an official TED talk. So it's checked by us and by TED, actually,